Welcome to the Girl Awakening podcast, a space for real, raw and beautiful, honest conversations about what it means to be human and what happens when we begin to question everything we thought we knew. We're Jo and Amanda, two women navigating our own awakening, asking the big questions, exploring the unknown and remembering who we were before the world told us who to be. We don't have all the answers, but we're willing to ask the questions. So come as you are, open your mind, trust what resonates, and let's awaken together. Good morning, Amanda.
Oh, good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
I can't believe we are back. It's been December 2025.
Yes, a hot minute.
A hot minute.
The world's kept turning.
Yeah.
So have we.
Yes, so have we. But as we know, with Girl Awakening, we're always moving and shifting and evolving and changing, and that's been happening to us as well. So that's why we've had to put the podcast on hold for a little while, so we can get our own shit together, basically.
Yeah.
And let's just say we still haven't, but we're here and we're back in. Yeah. Yes. And we have another amazing guest today who's going to start our new potty for 2026, who's going to open up the space. Yeah.
For us all to breathe into and to reflect with and expand with. And, I think it's just so wonderful to hear from a few of you that have reached out and going, where's the podcast been and what are you doing? And with, and we're excited to bring you what's coming next. And I think this lady is just absolutely perfect for starting.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, this next phase. So thank you for all being here with us.
Yeah. So let's welcome Allura Halliwell. She is a consciousness mentor and transformational guide whose radical awakening in 2018 catapulted her into a lifelong mission, helping others reconnect with the truth of who they are, which is what we love here. As a stay-at-home mother of 3, Allura's life changed forever after a spontaneous out-of-body experience, which we'll get into a little bit later. Her work sits in the pivotal space between internal healing and external creation. The interface, as she calls it, love that word, teaching clients how to align with wide-spectrum consciousness to access sovereignty, clarity and meaningful transformations in all areas. Welcome, Allura. Welcome to Awakening.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, ladies. I feel deeply honoured to be your first guest back. And I just want to honour you both, because to take that intentional space and to do the work within yourself, I think is one of the most profound ways to lead and to show up in this experience, because we are really showing up as the full spectrum self, and that's what we're here to do. So to take the space and to do that is an incredible, I think, maybe a modeling for everyone listening, that sometimes you have to take the time out and really go deep and do the work to continue to do the work. So honouring you both for stepping into that.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Yeah.
That gave us a deep pause.
Yeah.
We'll feel into that.
We're back. I feel like we're just constant.
Yes.
It's like second nature when you get back on that bike, but the pause is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, we're going to dive straight in, because I think this is exactly the space that we all love to be in and what it brings to the world. So we always ask about, how did your awakening begin? But we'd like to start today with, before we get into everything that you teach, which is some amazing places and spaces, we really want to know about the woman that you were before your awakening. So let's just start there, if that's okay.
Yeah, I love her. She was suffering. She was struggling and suffering, and I love her so much in that she was really in a survival mode that was keeping her very, very stuck. And I talked a little bit like she's a little bit separate to me, because after my awakening, it really did feel like there was a full rebirth, and there was kind of life before and life after. And I really see her now with such love and gratitude for everything that she was creating in her own way. But I am a mum. I've got 3 beautiful children. At that point, I had a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, and an 8-year-old. I had committed my life deeply to being a mum. But within that, that commitment came very, very much from a sense of fear, of nervousness around trying to do the right thing by my kids, trying to be a good wife, trying to create this kind of perfect life that felt really deeply imperfect. And I had been breastfeeding and pregnant pretty much for the last, I don't know what it was, many years. I was still breastfeeding my 4-year-old because I had attachment issues where I just really couldn't break that at the point of my awakening. So I was deeply exhausted, like in that feminine space of, creating babies and raising babies, fully committed to it, very anxious, and also living in a marriage that, well, on the surface was very much the traditional kind of husband goes to work, mum stays home, does the kids. But there was a really deep sense of emotional dysregulation running through our house. My husband was very dysregulated. I was very on edge, very stressed to try to please him in this infinite cycle of being unable to, make things okay for our family. And his heart and intention was high, but he was unprocessed as well. So we were just living in a deep survival mode, and it probably just looked like a normal life from the outside. And I suppose memories that I do have of that time were, crying in the shower, crying at the gate, leaving my kids at school because I was going to miss them, crying about feeling like I didn't know where I was going and what I was doing in my life, trying to work out, just focusing on the daily things. So it was very much just a kind of a survival mode, ordinary kind of existence. And I could feel something in me was not okay, but I had no idea what was underneath the surface. Yeah.
Wow. I feel all that, feel that in my breasts with the breastfeeding and what that relationship is all about, and the deeply emotional space, that heart-centered, so, out at sea experience as well, that all that is about, and the giving that's in there, and the searching, and the...
And then on the other side too,
so beautiful.
Yeah. It is so beautiful and so needed to, have a platform for you to bounce off from there. But it's also very common. This is what I'm hearing. A lot of our guests are in this situation very similar to yours. And there is a very strong, what do we call it, like concept or label or construct that has us believe that that's life. And that's just where you need to be, and be quiet and keep doing it and do a good job and look good doing it and all of those things. And those little voices that you may not have heard then, but you are aware of now, are to stay quiet.
Yeah, and to stay, I think it was almost like I'm so busy surviving, there is no space for anything more or any greater part of me. It was almost like I was compressed into the version of me that had to just put my needs aside, focus on trying to create the peace, trying to create the safety, and trying to create stability in something that really wasn't essentially stable. The pressures of life were coming externally, but my internal world, I was just, very much out at sea. So, it was a very deeply kind of lost phase, but it was ironic because it was what I wanted. I wanted to be a mum, I wanted to be a wife, I wanted to be at home. I chose that, and I really wanted to enjoy that, but the disconnection within me and all around me was just pressing on me. Yeah.
Do you think that comes back to if we can take a zoom out now and look at that, and you look at that, or any of us look at our past experiences, do you think that was because there was no other choice? Like that's part of one of the programs on the planet kind of thing,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was running what I now call the unloved wounding, which means that I was desperately seeking security and love and stability outside of myself, and predominantly within marriage and within having a partner and within having children. So there was almost like this vast internal separation within me that was like, I don't truly feel a connection to my own love. I'm going to seek it outside of me, and I'm going to put a construct around it that should guarantee that I get that love. But really, in truth, because we're kind of beginning to understand that everything within us is projected around us, I had that really deep fracture within me that I did not feel that internal love. So I couldn't really experience it around me. So I put in place a structure or a program that I thought would guarantee that. And because that was not connected within, I could only loop in trying to get it outside of me without it actually ever fully landing. And that, I think, intersects. So all our wounding intersects with programs, you know, the unworthy wound, which is, you know, potentially the woman that goes back to work straight away, that wants the career, that needs to make the money, that needs to have the beautiful house, to have the mortgage paid, the lovely holidays, the kind of that life driven from that kind of deep sense of lacking her own value, and then putting all the programs in place to try to get that and not arriving in that. Or, you know, the woman that's carrying that unknown wounding of, you know, feeling like she's not really understood, not really heard, not really seen, and trying to push out and create all these places where she wants to create certainty, but it's just at the expense and abandonment of her own real self and what she wants, and it never really comes back. So I was definitely living out my unloved wound, and not able to feel the truth of my own love really in that. And then, yes, attaching to a program that would give me that artificial safety of, yes, if you do this, you're going to get that experience. And it doesn't work like that.
So powerful.
Yeah.
Well, I keep seeing like blueprints, you know, blueprints of life, and everybody has, and there's only so many blueprints in the realm of this earthly existence.
Yeah.
And what you've just explained is one very strong one, you know, that we all just follow. And
Foundation.
the foundation, if we don't start to see it or break out of it or realize it or awake from it, it's just a loop that just keeps occurring.
That's exactly right. And so these three core foundational patterns in reality of feeling unloved, unworthy, unknown do interface with core programs that are running in this world. So I think the way we're heading is to realize that we do not have to commit to an external program, that we can find our own internal worth, love, knowing, and then being creatorship from there, which means that we're no longer, I suppose, a victim to reality. It's a really full, strong word, but I think a lot of us unconsciously feel like there are only certain pathways, there are only certain ways we can live this life, and then we feel stuck. And then we feel unconsciously that we're a little bit of a victim because things just keep working out in ways we don't desire. But I think if we take a step back and understand what is foundational and why that's happening, then we can begin to move the board, like move the pieces on the board in a different way, and move our lives in a different way, and move our inner life in a different way, which is why I believe we're all here awakening.
Yeah.
What were some of those things that you went through in context to that, what you were just talking about just then, you know, creating more chaos and all that? What were some of the things that happened with you that opened that doorway?
Oh my goodness, that was huge. The chaos was real, and the chaos was epic on epic levels, because when I arrived home from my awakening, I had a massive Kundalini awakening. So my energetic power source was plugged in, so I was vibrating constantly. I was also being guided by that energy. I stepped towards my husband and got thrown by the energy across the room, matrix style. He went into post-traumatic stress, and our relationship crumbled very quickly after my awakening, which created a huge amount of chaos in my material world. But I was unable to meet him in that. So my Kundalini energy turned on. I vibrated pretty constantly for 3 years, trying to activate and find that core, but I couldn't relate to reality on the same level. So I had difficulty engaging with anything really outside of me. I was very much in this internal connection to so much going on, so much to process, that I almost dropped everything that I'd been doing. I dropped my commitment in the way I'd been a mum. My mother mourned me like I died because I was just not accessible in the same ways. My marriage crumbled. I was in a state of, real deep chaos. And that chaos from the outside was really like a lot. But from the inside, I really knew that I was almost being divinely guided into a restructure of my reality. And I was being shown that it's almost like there's a density, right, and a pattern that runs through your life, and it's quite dense and heavy, and everything sort of repeats on top of it. And to get to the other edge of that, there needs to be some form of deep dissolve. And that dissolve is the chaos where the particle reality begins to move and shake and things happen. And this can be, illness, job loss, relationship breakdown, all the things, financial things, whatever's going on. And it's almost like we get to that point and we freak out and we go, oh my gosh, we have to try to claw back some level of normal life.
Yeah.
But for me, I was really deeply guided that I cannot go back. It was literally like there was no going back. I had to sustain the chaos to allow the integration of the next level of my being to be able to come through to the other side. So a lot of the people that I work with, it's really about when you're in that chaos stage, understanding exactly what's going on so you don't try to recreate where you've come from, and you actually truly liberate yourself and your energy and your consciousness and your material and cellular body, so you can then imprint and create a new level of reality.
Yeah.
And that chaos zone is so powerful and so important. I call it the in-between in my work.
That's what I was feeling, literally, yeah. So just going, because that's just profound and gives such great context to what it means to really, because we have people sharing, their body breaking down, illness, near-death experiences, all these awakening moments that shifts from one life path to the next. But that whole chaos zone, as you just so beautifully called it, and what it feels like to be walking on the inside of that, I think it's so liberating to hear you share that, but also part of that deeply confronting, do I want to invite that in? There's so much conflict in that, and I think, as you say, it's almost the key to our deepest fears. It's setting us free from those fears. But you share, let's go back from that beautiful point, because that's going to take us forward so beautifully back to what was your actual awakening, because that whole Kundalini energy, there's so much in that, and there's also so many kind of what people think Kundalini is as well, and where it's kind of gone a little bit in the popular spaces and things. So
I'd love
being all the things to all the people in your world. And then what did you obviously decided to do something for yourself at that point?
So I deeply want to touch into the Kundalini aspect because it's so important.
I agree.
And I absolutely want to tell that story. If it's okay, I might just quickly touch on that Kundalini energetic, because when that naturally and organically initiates in you, you are not leading your life. It is not, you are not consciously able to control that energy. So for anyone that's had an organic, spontaneous Kundalini awakening, it takes over your energetic body. And what I believe it's doing is it's actually rewriting your energetic field, and it's recalibrating you into a connectivity within yourself, but within this dimension that we're here, that gives you greater levels of access and understanding. When you do have that awakening, however, it is terrifying, because you are beginning to vibrate and shake, and you're almost, feels like you're kind of being taken over by that, and you have to surrender, and there is no explanation. There's really no one outside of you. It's the true dark night of the soul, because you're in that energetic field and you're having to form a relationship with it. And it's almost like this very passionate, persuasive lover that just wants to have his way with you and just make you like come on board in that. And it's not, sometimes doesn't actually feel that loving. It feels really intense. So I know there's a lot of activation out there that to touch into that space. And I really deeply honor that and think it's a really beautiful process to enter. But there is also a real sacred reverence that I have for that energy, because when it touches you and when it takes over, it is a lot. And it's a lot to kind of try to metabolize through the body and to bring into reality. You know, I was in Coles shopping and ended up, you know, on the ground having a full Kundalini experience, or I'd be in the cafe and I'd end up under the table, or I'd try to be walking and I'd be on the ground and I couldn't drive. You know, it was moving me on its own rhythm. And it was, you know, people would be like, can I call an ambulance? I'd be like, no, I'm fine. I'm just in that divine current. I need to just let that flow. So I would really like honor if anyone has had that awakening or in it right now. I get it. And, you know, there is support. And also if you're tasting that space, it's incredibly valuable. And having some foundation for it is beautiful, because I didn't have any foundation. I didn't have a spiritual or connective practice. I was like kind of thrown in the deep end. So I just wanted to share that on Kundalini because I'm really passionate about that space.
It sounds incredible. I'm sitting here going, I want one. I want one. Yes. But you know, it's funny because I've listening to you speak and talk about it. I've had like some psychedelic experiences, and one of them was with ayahuasca. And just hearing you talk about that, it kind of feels like, even though I've taken something to have that experience. Yeah. But that's an experience where you're shaking, or you feel like you're about to break out of some illusion or something, and you have no control over it. Yeah. But you want it, but you don't want it because there's so much fear of, you know, the other side, and the unknown, and you know, it's where you want to go, but you don't want to go. It's like, that's the feeling I'm getting with you explaining that so beautifully.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and it's divine, and it's also like a hardcore awakener. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, you're actually breaking out of the illusion of the planet, you know?
Yeah. Well, a lot of the illusions of separation dissolved in that, because when you become that level of energy, you cannot be separate from everything that is energetic. And that's really powerful.
So should
I tell you? Oh,
yes.
Should I tell you the story?
It's such a beautiful space of discovery, and I think what I'm feeling also is what coming here together today is opening up for people, is that it's okay to keep going where we're going. Don't stop. Keep walking through.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah. Oh,
so big.
Yeah,
so I was home with the kids, and I got a message from my dear friend, and she said, hey, do you want to come on a meditation retreat with us? My whole mother's group from my firstborn child were going on a meditation retreat. And I thought, wow, that sounds like a fabulous holiday. And I was sort of aware that, you know, I needed to do something on that, you know, meditation front. So I said yes. It was a 6-night retreat on the Sunshine Coast. And I went up there and walked into the space, and I was like, whoa, there's something happening. It was a big level of energy there. And I began to get into the processes and sort of the initiation into the unknown, and getting into the meditation and beginning to feel something moving through my body. It was on the 3rd day or the 4th day potentially that I went down to the beach to do a meditation while we were walking along the beach listening to a meditation. And I stepped onto that sand, and it was a beautiful blue sky day, and I could feel this real density in my body kind of pulling me. So I couldn't walk. I had to sit down, and then eventually I had to lay down in the sand. And it was almost like I was sort of like a magnet being pulled to the earth, and I just couldn't really move. I closed my eyes, and then I could feel this energy moving from the tips of my toes all the way up my legs, up my torso, and up into my head. And then it turned out it was my consciousness accumulating through my body, and then it popped out of my top of my head, and my consciousness was witnessing my body lying on the ground. I was like, whoa, where am I going? What am I doing? It was a lot in that moment, and my body just kind of surrendered and just lay there for the process. Afterwards, I heard it was about over an hour. People were kind of gathering and checking on me, and I was breathing, but I wasn't really with it. So they thought maybe I was in deep meditation, I think. But anyway, as my consciousness came out of my body, I began to ascend, and then I saw sort of the whole beach, and then I merged into a very bright, white, pure light. And that light was really ineffable, because it was like this full sense of bliss and like a return that came through the consciousness in that moment. And as I merged with that light, it actually became, in I don't know how long, in a moment, very, very dark, very, very dense. And I now realize I'd entered what I call the void, which is this infinite field of consciousness that stretches eternally in all directions. And it is a field where my consciousness felt like it came home, and it merged into that field, and it felt like there was no separation. So I experienced this intense awareness of wholeness, and this it was so profound and so complete that I lost consciousness, because I couldn't be separate from it. I had to be all with it. And I became that field. I only know I did because I felt it on the edge of becoming it, and then I was no longer separate from it. So, yeah. And then I was there, I don't know for how long, felt like eternity, but I'm sure it was only maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. And then I touched a frequency became available for me, and I merged with this frequency, and it was the frequency of pure unconditional love. And it was in that moment that I separated from that field. And that moment was when I really knew that to be in separation is also to be in deep unconditional love. Because to be completely immersed in that field, you are everything and nothing, so you cannot experience anything. So to become available to experience something, I had to have that frequency shown and felt through me, through my consciousness. And that was what took me then from the void back to the light. And then I dropped back down, I don't know how, and my consciousness re-entered my body. And I opened my eyes, and there were lots of people around me, but all I could see was energy. So everything was like luminescent particles vibrating, the ocean, the sky, sand, everyone's faces. And I feel that I probably had become energy, so I could only see energy in everything around me. And that lasted quite a period of time, which was quite disorientating because there was no borders between things. And, you know, I was helped off the beach and I saw the plants, and I was like, whoa, I was in awe of how everything is vibrating in its own energy. And I was really quite confronted at the same time, because it felt like I'd been so expanded and then I'd been squeezed back into this body. And it was almost like waking up like an alien and going, where the hell am I? This is a lot. I've tried to understand that moment in terms of like why it was so contrasting, but I sense that something happened to my consciousness when it left, and it really expanded so profoundly. And when I returned, I was only able to see from that level of consciousness, but it was very disorientating because I still had a 40-year-old woman's body that had accumulated all the programs, patterns, density, nervous system responses that I had to re-enter. So there was a lot of fear that also came up in my body. I saw myself in a mirror and I was just in complete shock. I was like, oh my God, who are you and what are we doing here? And then I got taken to breakfast, didn't really know what was happening, put some things on my plate, sat down. Someone who'd known me for a long time, who I didn't actually recognize, said, what are you doing? And I said, I don't know. And she said, you're about to eat meat and you haven't eaten meat since you were 11. I was like, oh, okay, that's something not to do. And it was that point that I realized I had a form of amnesia where I really couldn't recall my past preferences or ways of being. It's almost like it had got wiped. And I found that also incredibly confronting because I came home and
I can feel you, darling. Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't fully recognize my children or my home or anything.
Yeah. Wow.
So I walked into that house knowing that these beloved children were mine, but just not knowing how I'd come to create that experience and what programs had brought me there. So that was a really painful and confronting part of the awakening, because I did abandon them on a emotional level. I was physically there, but spiritually and physically, emotionally, I did abandon my children in that initial period in what happened to me, because I just was not available. It was like the lights were on, but no one was home because I was processing such a huge experience. And I came home and I was just drawn to meditate. So I would meditate 5 to 6 hours a day, because that's where I just reconnected to source, and I was that source in myself. And I'd open my eyes and I'd be in complete overwhelm. I was really having to reorientate what it meant to be human, and I was really on the front row of all my patterns, my programs, my nervous system, and I felt so divinely connected and orientated and knowing in the unknown, and yet so fearful and so constricted in my body. So that's when I really went on. That's when it was really shown to me that there is a journey of this awakening to integrate the human and the divine. And I was having to be the living experiment of that, because no one could help me. No one knew what had happened to me. No one knew why I was vibrating constantly and where I'd been. And it took me 3 years to integrate. And I was mourning and releasing on a cellular level all the density in my body, which looked like crying daily, so it was a big journey. It was a huge journey.
I don't think we've ever had an awakening like this. Girl Awakening. Girl Awakening has look, we've asked for it to go to the next level, and
here you are. Yeah.
I freaking love that you, first of all, have been so brave to share that with us.
Yes, thank you.
Seriously, how does somebody even articulate that to somebody else? Like, I can imagine what you were sitting in that moment too. Like, there would be nobody that you could go to that would understand what you're going through. Like, I mean, I'm listening to you, and I've read a lot, I've journeyed a lot myself, I've done all of that, but that's full on. Like, that is wild. I'm fucking so happy that you're here and that you're
I'm so grateful. Thank you for letting me share that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the realness, Allura, of you just so by sharing everything of your experience, I think everyone, I invite you all to go onto Allura's website and to read through what she shares there. But to hear you speak of this experience, it's like it's nothing that you can read and connect with, like to hear your voice, your deep immersion in the now moment of that moment. It's you went on that retreat as one person and you left the planet and you came back as a completely different person. It's like that frequency never left you, is it, that found you, and you're rewired, and here you are as Allura, but you're not Allura. But you are Allura. So
Yes.
you know, contrast of all the things. I particularly loved what you said around that illusion of separation, is that you have to be separate or disconnected to actually be here. Like, you know, we're trying to be one with Source, but yet we can't be here if we're one with Source, almost. Like, that's one of the understandings, or the, like, oh, that I got from what you shared before you went into.
Yeah, that's such a big piece, because what I really was then shown was that the separation becomes that we do have the material physical body, but that we have this body as the portal to orientate ourselves as Source within. So a lot of the work is about closing the separation that is within the internal pain, the internal patterns, the internal density, the internal programming, and really allowing the process of that to return us to a Source being within the physical body. And that's what I believe we're all here to do. If there is one evolutionary direction we're here to take, is to become Source within the physical body and to experience ourselves as that divinity in the human form. And that's
the lesson, isn't it? That's what we chose to come to this planet for, is to walk that journey. And hello.
Yeah.
It also opens up another level of reverence for what it means to be healthy, doesn't it? To honor our temple, because to hold the frequency. I mean, you know, that's a lot of, like, what you were sharing around your body vibrating. And
can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah.
What it was like for you physically? Like, how does that? Yeah.
What, I mean, even your diet, like how it meant even to hold your children, all those things, like that, all that experience.
It was really interesting because food just stopped being a program. So I wasn't really, because I was more in the energetic experience, I didn't really eat much during that time, and it wasn't planned. It was just that my body was almost just purging and running on a different level of energy, and food was really part of a density that my body couldn't really process. So that was quite a journey in that, because it was just very organically not available for me to eat a lot at that point. It just didn't fell away. And then in terms of my day, I would be vibrating and then also having to walk in nature and, allowing the density to come through my body and to release it. And at the same time, we were also in the global lockdown. So there was a whole world was reorientating energetically as well. And I was doing that on my own level. It created a really interesting space where that isolation in that was just really accentuated, and I just really had to deeply go within. There was nowhere else to go. So I was with my kids. We have a house on a lake, and we would just be there together. And even though I was absent emotionally, we're physically together that whole time. And there was a lot, and they began to have past life experiences as well. And that's another part of the journey. I was really flooded with a lot of multidimensional or interdimensional awareness. So I got shown a lot of these lives, but they were very useful because I began to see this imprint of my energetic system that had run through all space and time, and things that had happened in what we call the past are happening eternally now. And I was able to work very conscientiously with those lives and alter my current life. So there were aspects of me that were trapped in different versions of myself that I got to really sit with and evolve. And that's what really taught me the multidimensional nature of our experience, that we're not just here and now, we're very much in an energetic creation that's vaster than us. And I work quite a bit with that in the work I do, because it's a really important piece to understand where your energetic signatures come from, how you've repeated it over space and time. And in one beautiful past life, I found myself as a slave girl that was actually murdered in an ancient Greek bathhouse. And I worked with her and found her and liberated her in one of the experiences I had. And it was the same day that my ex-husband actually moved out of the house. So it was like this kind of freedom piece came on all levels, which was necessary at that time. And I began to realize that not everything is what it seems in the physical, that we can do the work internally and shift consciousness and shift our signature, and we can have our reality completely shift around us, which is really powerful.
Wow. I was going to ask that question about your children, because we do know that we're all connected in some way, shape or form, with our children and with the people that are closest to us in other lifetimes. Do you know the connection between your children and you now?
Yeah, I know that we signed up for a big evolutionary program. And I want to actually touch on that, because one of the really important things for me after this occurred, and I had enough of my consciousness back in my body, because I think what did happen when I left my body was that I went very intergalactic, interdimensional. My consciousness kind of spread all through the multiverse.
Wow.
So a part of the journey in the 3 years was bringing and reclaiming my energy and bringing myself back into my body, which is a process that I do quite a lot, because it's so important to have a foundation of your own energy in your body. But once I'd got enough of myself back, my very initial focus was working with my children through the truth of what happened for them, and really sitting in the space of allowing them to express honestly, to really acknowledge what had happened, to know more of the truth behind that, so that they weren't confused by that, and to really commit to this level of relationship of honesty and evolution and expansion with them, because that was an important part of kind of my mission to begin with, that I had to resolve the closest things to me before I could support anyone to resolve anything else around them. And I think it's important for anyone doing work with anyone else to make sure that the people that you're working with are doing the work to really create that connection and safety in their own lives before they're advising others to do that work. And it was tough. It was hard, tough work. But I can happily say now that my children and I are very, very connected. They're very content and just able to really meet life in really profound ways. And my ex-husband has recently had a baby with his new partner, and we all had breakfast together on the weekend. So my ex-husband, my co-parent, his partner, the baby and the kids, and we're going to Europe together next year. So we've met. Yeah, so that was critically important to me, that those relationships were not in separation, but in a wholeness and in love. And that little baby feels really like a special baby to me, because there was a lot that had to happen for that little soul to come into this world. And I really honor that journey. So for me, working with my kids and working with my family was really a core priority.
Yeah.
That's kind of, that for me feels like that's part of that multi-dimensional healing and pulling those fragments back, because those contracts that we have with each other to be experiencing this one lifetime where that awareness drops in of each other on a soul level, I think it's just so powerful. And so where the evolution journey goes from there is just, it's so exciting to contemplate, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
And I find that as well, like even when people do this work, it's a consciousness. So they find by default the people around them are starting to evolve. So like when you're doing the work and you're like quantumly connected and energetically connected to everyone in your field, they're also getting that effect. So I've witnessed some incredible things happen in families just by one person committing to doing that deep inner work and acknowledging that, you know, that we're all connected, and there can't be relationships that are disconnected or, you know, pushed to the side. They all have to be looked at and reviewed and assessed to really make sure that they're in the wholeness and the love that they belong in. And that work's tough, especially when there's been pain and fear at the foundation of the relationship. That's a really important piece, I think, for everybody and for the work.
Yeah. Yes, and that word density, you know, the foundation of fear. I mean, the density in that is, it's a big obstacle, isn't it? To even when you describe, you know, your physical being repelled from your husband when you came home. I mean, it's almost like that constantly, isn't it? When you're trying to break through something, you know, that repelling away from the breakthrough. You've got to keep going back in.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one of the most pivotal pieces that I became very conscious of in my initial awakening was my relationship to my own pain and my own fear. That piece for me has almost been one of the core liberating factors, because everything that's in separation, there is a degree of fear that exists around that. And so it took me on a really deep dive into the design of that, because understanding how we're designed and reality design felt so important to me. So I really, really explored, what am I essentially most fearful of? What is the thing that I feel terrified of? And when I got to the foundation of every single thing, it was that I feared my own pain. And that is what I believe every human fears. We can kind of, you know, create it in, it's you know, an individual thing. We fear death, we fear abandonment, we fear loss, we fear all these things. But the truth is we just fear the pain we're going to feel. And that pain also is the thing that we work our whole lives to not feel. So we want to create a pattern of our existence that brings us away from what we think is painful for us, which is the foundation of the loops that we go through, because there is an unconscious fear that if I do that thing, that pain might arise. So I was like, whoa, we need to circumnavigate that, because we cannot live in an existence of that level of limitation and separation from life, that we're living in that constant fear. So it really showed me how to use my pain as a portal of reconnection, as opposed to pain being protected by fear and creating separation in my inner template, which created that separation in my whole life. So when I understood what pain was, it became the greatest liberating force in my life. And how I understood it was protected by the fear, that was a huge navigational place where layers and layers of liberation happened. And eventually it came to a point in my system where the fear is not really the thing driving me anymore. It's just the signpost. It's just showing me, okay, you still have that unmet, unprocessed, unfelt, unconscious, usually pain in the cellular body, in the density of the body. And so meeting that pain as a sensation, as a portal, as an access point, is where we reconnect to source in ourselves. And that has been profoundly life-changing for me, and for a lot of the people doing this work. I found that's a really powerful, powerful way.
Well, it just feels, and just as you're talking now, It's like, yeah, I've always said that everything's upside down and back to front. You know, it's like we talk about being happy and joyful and all that is going to bring us more of it. And it's like, well, you know, facing fear and facing pain, it feels and seems like we don't want to do that. Like it's the one thing we basically turn our back on, or we suppress it, or we avoid it, or we do everything we can because we feel like that's going to be the place where it's going to hurt too much. It just makes sense.
And then we just stay in survival mode.
Yeah.
We just stay...
Face it. And that we're powerful enough to face it. You know, that's the other part, is that we don't feel powerful or strong enough to be able to face it, where we are completely powerful and strong enough to face these things.
I absolutely agree. And also there's like a piece that we don't get shown. And this is the thing when I talk about the interface. It's like we're being taught how to heal, like that's coming into like wide stream kind of acknowledgement and consciousness, but we're not actually shown how reality is designed. We do not understand how we interface with the creation of our reality. And this is not manifestation. This is a fundamental design that we carry that is imprinting reality and creating reality as a mirror back to our internal world.
Hang on.
So,
fuck. You're going to have to say that again.
Yeah.
You're going to have to say all that again. That was wild what you just said.
Yeah. So we have not been taught how to interface correctly with reality. We've been taught how to heal. We've been taught an illusion of manifestation to get what we want out there. But we do not know the mechanisms that actually allow us to be the conscious creators of our reality.
Yeah. Mic drop. Fucking mic drop right there.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like that could be a podcast all in itself. That's making me emotional, even just.
Same. It's just my head.
Yeah.
Like it's expanding the energy, and that what you just shared. And I can also feel that like music going la 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 la, don't listen.
Yes. It's like something's coming in to try and distract it. It's like, that's why I was like, no, whoa.
That's why what happens when we go unconscious, because like that is actually touching a very core part of your very deep knowing. But there's an unconscious mechanism that comes in. This is part of the reality creation that goes, do not go there. You don't need to go there. That's not available for you. And this is part of the system, internal system that keeps us in separation. So this is a consciousness that when we access it, we're like, oh my God, reality is literally showing you the evolutionary pathway of what is within you. You are in constant call and response. So when you're looking outside of you, it's giving you all the pointers about where to go within you, but we do not understand how to go within and move the needle on that. So this is why we need to work so deeply on these internal mechanisms to kind of unleash our unconsciousness and stuckness, that we can have a direct relationship with evolution and reality, because we're not here to heal. That's another illusion. We are not here to heal.
Love you have said that.
That's a trap. It's another loop, isn't it? It's a loop.
We were talking about this morning, about the living in the identity and the story of pain, and the story of victim, and there's so many people living in this place. And I always get told, you're being too harsh. It's like, no, I have a strong feeling that you're wasting your time thinking that living in this world of victim or the story or creating an identity that's not you and living off that, you're not going to get anywhere doing that.
Exactly. Yet simultaneously, we need to deeply honor and acknowledge what the process of being the victim is, because that actually holds the key to unlock the prison.
Yeah.
So if we are in an illusion that we can't be that, we're also almost creating an internal bypass where we don't acknowledge it. So like step one is almost acknowledging we are a victim to reality.
Yes.
And we are a victim because there's these unconscious design processes that keep us in that victim relationship.
And I want to say something quickly just with what you just said. So people would call that a demon or a devil or whatever, or negative energy or whatever it is.
My job.
But I'm
not my job, the job.
I'm just visualizing the system, so to speak.
Yeah.
So for you, can you just explain, or not, just tell us what your vision of what that is?
Reality.
The reality, in the reality consciousness that you're in, what is that? Is it just another mechanism in the system?
It's you. It's you.
It's whoa.
You create the conditions of your separation and your prison, so you can then see that externally for you to go and find and work with that part internally. The problem is we go, that's out there, that's attacking us, that's negative, that's bad. It is all within you. So why we know this is because the things that each of us are drawn to are all individual, right? Like no one's drawn to exactly the same things. Everyone's co-creating with a different stream of awareness of things. Those things you are actually creating to experience, so you can then find the key to go deeper to see how is that coded in your system. Mm-hmm. So when we work with like what I call the density, which is those duality constructs, good, bad, right, wrong, unworthy, worthy, unloved, loved, all the things, you're playing in a duality consciousness where you're wanting to see both sides of the program so you can collapse into the source point of being all of the program.
Yeah.
But if you don't see both sides, you don't know how to find that source point at the wholeness that incorporates both the victim, the perpetrator, the good, the bad, the evil, the good, the ugly, the whatever. And it's like joining those two sides to be like, we are in a whole system. But what happens then, those things that have been separate, so the programs of that's bad or that's good, they both collapse. So you just become the source, which is the everything, right? You don't need the separation of all those little things to construct your identity. You don't need to cling to that. You just become the source.
Yeah.
So when people are doing the work and they're like, oh, I just need to love myself or become enough, it's like you can only want to become that from the separation of it, right? And my question always is how do we all know that we're not loved, that we're not enough, that we're not understood? How can we possibly conceptualize that? The only way we can know that it's absent is because we know that it's actually the truth of who we are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a powerful sentence.
So we're looking for it. We're always looking for it out here to give us validation, but it's us that's creating the story in the first place.
Yeah, we're the ones that are looking for the separation, so we get the re-entry point back to that experience.
That's where the loop comes in and keeps us in this density.
Yeah.
Proving to ourselves constantly.
I can't stop swearing. It's all I've got. It's all I've got. It's just fuck.
It's a very
I love it.
Great word.
So good.
It's so good. Oh my
God. The re-entry point, you really get me with that. The re-entry point. It's just like, my God, our addictions, everything, those are our re-entry points, aren't they? Like there's so many re-entry points that we create.
Yes. Well, so like the way I discovered that point was like when I was source, I split from source to come back into this body, and I experienced what I call like a fracture point. It's like a break from wholeness to separation, right, into a body when that movement happens. That's one of the core fractures humanity experiences. And then we come into the womb, and then there's another kind of fracture when we separate from our mothers. And then we have these energetic fractures where we're in that inner sensing, the innocence of our childhood, and we begin to realize something outside of us is telling us that we're not loved, we're not safe, we're not enough. And that's when we break again from ourselves. And instead of having the attention inwards in that inner source, we begin to look outside of ourselves to create the illusion of safety, to try and make everything safe, because we feel fundamentally unsafe internally. The fundamental unsafety is always that root. I'm not enough. I'm not loved. I'm not safe. I'm not known. It's one of those always. There's nothing else that humanity is struggling with. It's all coming down to those core energetic patterns. And when we see that, we realize we're trying then to create a reality that will give us completion. Finally loved, finally enough, finally made it, finally in purpose, finally known. And then everything outside of us is created from the separation pattern that we're running within us. So we keep fractalizing, and then we use addictions to keep that going. Use addictions to keep that going. When we pause, flip and reverse and come back into our bodies and let that addiction fall away and let that fear literally, like, it feels like we're going to die, to be honest, when you touch that fear and you come back to re-enter yourself. It's a whole process called dying to the limited self, where we go, whoa, we can no longer run the addiction of survival, trying to make this happen externally. It is a siphon of our energy. All our energy is trying to go outwards to try and make that work. We have to bring that energy in. We have to press pause on that addiction to getting everything we need. And then we come in and then we die into the limited self, because the limited self is the one that's holding that pattern. And then we get reborn into that source.
That's a whole nother level of surrender that you just shared there.
Yeah.
Like that's the, you know, like that die into the limited self. That is like, wow, that is like heroin. If I use that word, because of the ecstasy that lies in that one sentence, is to die into the limited self. You know, it's frightening, and it's freeing at the same time, because it's like there's so much letting go of everything, absolutely everything, in that one little moment.
And it's interesting as well, because that letting go sensation is a thing that I think we all get scared of, but I like to kind of frame it like you're not letting go of anything, you're just reconnecting everything. So everything comes into your wholeness. So all the parts and pieces, because I find like a lot of people want to, like, I want to get rid of that in my past. I want to get rid of that relationship. I want to get rid of that feeling. I want to get rid of all those things and be this other version. And it's the opposite.
Yeah.
We take all those things and we make them so internally safe that we actually merge back with them.
Yeah.
So instead of going, I need to get rid of that thing, we're going, okay, let's bring that in and really integrate that part that we've tried to separate, because it will continue separation. I have so many people that come and go, oh, I forgave that person like 10 years ago, but I really cannot stop thinking about that. Like, it's triggering, like it still triggers me what happened with that person. And I'm like, because there's an illusion that we can cut things off and separate them and just send them away from us. And so much of the healing world is like, let's cut it off, let it go, expel it. And we can't do it that way, because it's never going to leave you. It's connected to you. So the only place to make it truly safe is to integrate it back through you, as opposed to getting rid of it. And that's this loop that I see people come into. It's like, I'm trying to get rid of all that stuff so I can finally feel okay. And it's like, no. It's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I have people come after 20 plus years of therapy, modalities, all the things, trying to get rid of it all. It's like, you cannot get rid of it.
And it's truly being honest with ourselves. Why, as you said before, why we've created that person or that experience or that something in our life. If we bring it back in and we're really being honest with ourselves, and owning that is our experience, not being a victim, as you shared, of our experience.
And we make it safer, because that's the thing we lack, internal safety.
Yeah.
We're trying to find safety all around us while feeling radically unsafe within us.
I know Eckhart Tolle shares a quote, which is, you cannot change a problem on the same level of consciousness that was created. I love that. And I feel like that's similar to what you're saying. It's like, try and solve something from the same level it was created, you know. And I think for our listeners as well, with what you're talking about, because we have a lot of women listeners, and a lot of people that go through relationship breakup, and they want that person out of their life because they're creating, and like it's so the opposite. You need to actually be able to be or not be with that person, to let it like settle and rest where it needs to rest. And whether that's with them or not, you still need to be able to be and not be with them.
Yeah, the reconciliation within you. And a really big piece that I keep witnessing is that a lot of the really challenging relationships come because there's not an inner boundary. Yeah, so this is not an external boundary. This is that you have honored your core so deeply that you absolutely know what internally is okay for you and is not okay for you. And you take full responsibility for you creating your internal boundaries.
Yeah.
This is not cutting anything out. It's just meaning you're sovereign. You have free will. You have the capacity to move, say, do what you need to do to be honoring yourself first.
Yeah, I love that.
The self-honoring is a critical part. So you don't necessarily need to cut that person, like you don't need to, how to say it, you don't need to make that person disappear. You need to see what part of you did you disappear to maintain that relationship.
Yeah.
That would be the evolutionary work. That would be where you would go and say, wow, this is where my inner boundaries weren't formed. And we do a lot of initial work on that because people need to work out, how do I have even an inner boundary? I'm so used to like giving other people boundaries that they just step right over. It's such big work.
That's the other beautiful thing in that is that
quick.
we think the power lies in having boundaries out there. It's like the power lies in having boundaries in here and sticking with them and holding them and honoring them. Yeah.
Because you can't be a victim then.
Yeah.
You have to be the sovereign being that takes full responsibility for yourself.
Yeah. And there's so much that entails just in that alone, and it's not about being mean, nasty, strong, fighting, any of that. It's about everything. It's like the love, the allowing, the safe space. It's like, but for all and self.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that was a really big part of the journey in the awakening, because I've been so trained to believe I was selfish on some level by actually honoring myself.
Yeah.
And so I really learned how to become self-full, which created for me such a huge level of capacity to be of service, to show up as a mum, to be a co-parent, to be a daughter, to be all the things, because I was inherently holding myself at the center and then being able to have the energy to meet all those things around me. But when I was coming from this sense, I'm selfish if I'm in connection to myself, then I was depleted, overwhelmed, energetically exhausted, not able to really show up anywhere. So it became a really core priority to make sure that I honored that. And that was on an energetic level primarily. Like, it's not taking the time to go and, get my nails done and all the things, even though that's nice to do. It was more around energetically, am I honoring my inner being and not over energizing someone else's world, creation, problems, design? Am I sovereign? And then meeting them sovereignly, instead of meeting them in this kind of sense of, I want to come and save you and make you better and make it all okay, or all the things so you'll love me. It's like, no, I'm here to be in that wholeness. And it's a beautiful template for others too, because then there's not this overlapping energetic codependence or dependence on other people.
Yeah, I love that. How do you analyze that in your own life? Like, just being a human for a moment.
Yeah.
Like, how do you go through your day, and like, how can you tell what is the right thing to do with your children or with your friends? Like, how do you navigate the time? So many questions. How do you navigate that?
Yeah. So the first part for me was when I developed that relationship with my own energy. I can feel when my energy leaves me and is starting to energize something that's not really mine or not really connected to me, and I'm trying to save, fix, manipulate, manage, move the external reality so it feels safer, that's when I do the energetic reclamation practice, and I bring my energy in, and then I almost go into a state of like, I kind of call it like nowhere to go, nothing to do, no one to be.
Yep.
So instead of trying to work from the level of mind that I need to make everything okay, I just bring all my energy back and almost dissolve into the moment of the nothing.
Yeah.
And then reality almost unfolds around me and shows me what's actually going on. And then I can be responsive to that. But if I'm in the triggered state of like, I need to make this all different and fix this and respond to this and be involved in this, then I'm energetically exhausting myself, right? But when I pull it back and I just allow some space, because reality will unfold and show you what is truth and what is an illusion that you're just projecting on top of it. The majority of reality, when we're not conscious, is coming from our interpretation of it, which means you'll receive a text message from someone and it could say, sorry, I can't meet you tomorrow. That's a text message that says, sorry, I can't meet you tomorrow. But you could then overlay the illusion of, oh, they don't have time for me. They always don't show up. I don't know why they can't do this. Like, why won't they make it okay? Blah, 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 all the things. But it's literally being a text message that said, I can't make it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So then we like reclaim energy, and instead of kind of going into that and then playing in that space energetically or in your actions or in your emotions, kind of coming back and going, really interesting. They can't meet tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you're going deeper into your own body. Where is my fear? Where is my pain? What is that bringing into me? Oh, wow. Okay, I can find my abandonment. Let me meet that pain consciously. Let me like dissolve in and really hold that space. That's me. It's all a mirror. That's me.
Yeah.
Okay, let that become internally safe. Stretching my nervous system, which means I'm not trying to make reality safe. I'm stretching my capacity to make myself safe. And then seeing what comes up in reality and seeing how you want to move forward from that. This stretching the nervous system piece is a really big one I just want to touch on quickly. A lot of people talk about nervous system regulation. It's another suppression technique that we get taught, and I understand the concept, but every time I meet someone that does nervous system regulation, they're just in a form of suppression. Your nervous system isn't something to be regulated, it's something to be stretched. It's the thing that's determining your relationship to the survival patterns of your life. When your nervous system is constricted and operating out of its survival mode, you're going to get a very slim piece of reality available to you, which is going to be very much in a loop. So instead of regulating that and trying to make that feel calmer, we literally want to go the other way and literally break open the nervous system, which again is another version of dying to the limited self.
Yeah.
Because we want to crack that open and we want to increase capacity by going where you fear to go, doing what you would never do, not just for the sake of it, but for the intention of expanding your capacity. And that nervous system expansion work, I've witnessed time and time again, creates another relationship with life, like that is just on another level, because we're not living in the loop.
We are. I just want to quickly just add while I'm thinking of it. We're going to have to do another podcast.
We're so hard because we've run it.
I'm definitely coming back. I'd be honoured.
Yeah.
2 more minutes and there's so much
today. Well, can't be next week.
Yeah.
Because this is, touching into what we call manifesting, basically, in a way, isn't it? But
it's
it's
a whole other area.
But that's again is a suppression technique because of what you're just sharing now, and the truth behind what you're just sharing. There was expanding our capacity. It changes our whole relationship with literally everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I love you. I love you guys too. I'm so happy to come back. So fun.
Quickly, I wanted to ask too, because we all have people that we love to connect with. Who out there are you like admiring at the moment, or love their work, or where they're going, or what truth, who out there is someone that you kind of...
Yeah, I so love that question. It's not really maybe a very great answer, but when I did go through this awakening, I was literally shown that I had to answer to my own consciousness, and that through that I was physically unable to watch television, listen to podcasts, or do anything external to the connection to the source of this consciousness.
That would have been so dense to you, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was really dense, but then also from this level of consciousness, there was a lot that I could see that I understood from a different level, and it made me really want to just often help the people that I was looking for. But in saying that, I am absolutely always in an evolutionary trajectory, and I say this to everyone I meet. I'm not like the guru or the one with the answers. I'm literally like a mirror of consciousness for everyone to awaken their own innate consciousness and connection to the source of themselves, because I absolutely do not want anyone to not be sovereign in their experience of understanding who they are and what they're here for. So in my sovereignty, I choose to answer to my own consciousness and connect to my own consciousness. But then I also, with everyone I meet, I don't make myself available to be the answer. I just make myself available to be the question that you can ask yourself. And energetically, that's very important to me, because there's a lot of manipulation that happens with people that have a form of knowledge that then go on to say, this is the way that things have to be and this is the way you need to do things. And all I want to offer is a capacity for you to sense if you feel your own truth in your own body as you receive the reflection, because it's your consciousness also co-creating to understand these things. And that's why I feel I'm here as a mirror to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really deeply important for me. And a lot of the humans that I work with absolutely graduate and go on to live their own full lives without having me in it, which is what I want, right? Like, I want everyone energetically sovereign in their own knowing. And yeah, that's super important. So that's, yeah.
We're going to tap onto this next conversation with you, Allura, because I love what you just dropped in around a lot of the humans that I work with, and I'm like, oh, you work with more than humans. We'll just leave that drop there.
So
thank you, darling heart, for just everything that you opened in your heart and
open in our hearts.
Our hearts and our consciousness. I feel like we're talking with you in this human
dimension,
but our consciousnesses are just
party.
It's like, it's this incredible feeling that I'm so excited for everyone to hear when they're in this space, and we will go with part B as well as part of your awakening, and
so much to share.
And I just want to honor you both, because you have both created the field to be able to like step in and share on this level. So I'm grateful for your consciousness to be able to meet this work and expand through it and resonate in it, because that is part of the co-creation. So to feel you both so connected and alive in it is such a deep gift for me. Because it is a challenge sometimes to express things that aren't really here yet, like that they're kind of in the field and we're kind of trying to anchor them in. So to know that people like divine beings like yourself are able to resonate, it means so much to me on so many levels. So I'm very honored to be your first guest back, and I'm honored to return, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We will be in touch. You can just hang on while I disconnect. That would be great.
Thank you. all of Allura's information will be in the show notes.
Yes.
Come back down to reality.
Yes, and she has some retreats coming up too, which we will put in as well.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That will be a really good place to start. November. You're all welcome.
Anything that you'd like to just share quickly in that space that you want to go in?
Yeah, I think to deep dive in the presence, we've got a gorgeous 5-star hotel at the Terrigal, which is on the beach, and we've got the big ballroom there, and we've got 4 co-facilitators, a Kundalini activation, an international sound healing journey, ecstatic dance, and yoga on the mornings. But mostly I'm going to be deep diving into the field of this consciousness and guiding everyone through processes, meditations, and these kind of teachings for everyone to really up level. So it's going to be an absolute festival of consciousness, and everyone's invited, and there's plenty of room for everybody. So that's the final weekend in November. It's a full 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And if you can make it, you'll also be joining a community of humans that are deeply dedicated to their own freedom and liberation and consciousness. And it's going to be a huge, huge party. So please come.
Well, like today, the 12th of August, like an eclipse happening, the energy activation is real. So I'm excited for what that's going to do in Terrigal over that weekend.
Oh, wow. It's massive. I actually wasn't aware of that, but I always seem to be planetarily aligned without even knowing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
I know. I didn't even know how to stop it.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Girl Awakening. Remember, you don't have to agree with everything you hear here. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and above all, trust yourself. Keep asking the questions, keep following the nudges, keep becoming curious about this wild and beautiful human experience. Because maybe we're not here to have it all figured out. Maybe we're just here to keep awakening. Until next time, beautiful humans, we're all just walking each other home.